Hello?
Yeah, we're gonna wait for some more people to come first because, there's still more people, and I don't really want to start with people that missed something. Okay, we have 11 participants. That's 9, not including me and Jinlin, who should not be in class. Okay, so I think that should be enough to start. So I'm just gonna share screen. Okay, so I assigned homework to you guys last time, which was basically to kind of like write a short story using kind of like the dystopian world that I asked you guys to create last time. So I wonder if you guys actually did your homework. So was there anyone that did not do their homework, first of all? Okay, you weren't here last class. That's not your fault. Don't worry about that. Uh, okay. So just remember, if you do forget what the homework is, I post it in the writing class. If you want, I can recopy and paste the class code into the chat so you guys can join. I'm not sure if everyone has joined the classroom yet. I'll check. But just in case, I'll probably reshare the code. Okay, guys. So who did the homework? If you actually did the homework, just please write it in the chat. Okay, so did anyone do the homework? Okay, Jason, you did the homework. Okay. Anyone else that did the homework? You said you don't know. Okay. Do you know? Did you do the homework, Jason? No, you didn't do the homework. Okay. Did anyone do the homework? That's just what I want to know. Did anyone? There should be at least one person that's done the homework. Okay, so literally nobody did the homework. Guys, this is a problem. Okay, in the future, if I assign you homework, I expect you to do it because the reason I assign homework for you guys is for you to practice
Learn!
and the reason I assign homework is for you guys to practice and polish your your writing skills. And I'm already trying to keep the homework at a minimum because I don't want to assign homework for kind of like the reading section, but I'm only assigning homework for the writing. You guys have a full week to do it, and it's usually very like short and very easy homework. That's mostly like something that you just have to dig out of your imagination. So please do your homework. It's not very hard. It doesn't take very long. Uh, Jason, you said it's probably because we are busy at school. Okay, that is not really understandable at this point because it's almost end of the school for most people. Some people, it's in my knowledge that some people have already like ended school, and school is literally like not giving out any actual homework at this point because it's literally like the end of the semester. Okay, so there should be no excuse that you guys like can't finish your homework. It's fine if kind of like you don't finish it. Like it's understandable at that case, in that case, but like at least try to do your homework and do some of it because like I assign you homework for a reason. I don't assign you homework just for you guys to kind of like have extra work to do, extra like, you know, you did the homework last class? No. Wait, I'm pretty sure you didn't. Your homework was to write a short story using the dystopian world that you created last class. Not the homework itself wasn't just to create a dystopian world. I assigned you homework which was to create a story around that dystopian world. So no, we didn't do the homework last time. Last time you guys didn't create a story, you just like wrote about it. So nobody did your homework. That is a very big problem because I also assign you homework because this is stuff that I need you guys to do, and I don't really want to waste class time doing it because it's something that you can definitely do at home, and probably you can do it even better at home because you're not under like a time clamp or time like, you know, like crunch. So guys, in the future, please do your homework. Like if you have a reason that you can't do your homework for like a certain week, then like you can just like message me and I'll understand. But please, like if you're able to do the homework, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys are, then do the homework. At least try to start on the homework and don't kind of just leave it. Also, if it's like a problem, if you think that the homework I'm assigning is too hard for you, or if you think like the homework I'm assigning is too long and you don't have time to do it, that's totally fine. You can just message me and I'll give you like either a separate assignment to do or like I'll change the homework so that it's easier to do. Okay, so moving on from kind of like the discussion about why you guys should do your homework if you can. Um, Once again, kind of like I assigned you guys to write about a dystopian like world last class, and then your homework was just to kind of like create a story out of that. So since nobody did your homework, I kind of like wondering if I should give you guys some class time to kind of write it. Okay, so I'll ask you guys, what would you guys prefer? Like, would you guys prefer to have some kind of like class time to do this? But then like if you have class time to do it, then I'll probably give you guys some extra homework. Actually, no, sorry. If I were to give you class time to write this, you wouldn't have a lot of time to do it because I want to like get other things done today. And since kind of like most people, like almost everyone didn't do their homework, that is a problem. So we could do that, or I could assign you extra homework and you would kind of like write that at home where you wouldn't be under a time crunch. And then we could kind of like get more done today. So what would you guys prefer? Okay, I'll type the two options in the chat. It's your choice. You guys can just type it in the chat, and whichever option is like most welcome, then we'll just do that. Okay, once again, Jason, please don't type your messages in like separate kind of like text. Just please put it in one sentence. Okay, if nobody really votes, then I'll just choose for you and give you some extra homework. Okay, nobody's really voting, so I'll just choose for you guys and assign you extra homework. Okay, so today we're going to kind of like, since we kind of like did the dystopian things last time and we were supposed to talk about it today, that is kind of a problem. But there is still kind of like an activity that I can do that was kind of prepared just in case nobody did their homework, since I was kind of expecting this. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is kind of just write in the chat what you would describe as a perfect world. I remember kind of like that in a long time ago, like a month ago or something, I got you guys to kind of do this activity for Animal Farm, which was a different book we read, but kind of like there's different people now, so we'll do this activity again. And this is kind of like about dystopian societies. Okay, so in the chat, I'm just gonna get everyone to kind of like write about what they would describe as a quote unquote perfect world. Please try to like elaborate a little bit more. Like, for example, if you were to say no problems, could you like elaborate a little bit on that? Okay, anyone else have any kind of like input? Okay. Okay, so basically what most people are suggesting, I only have like 2 answers, but this should be enough. Okay, so basically most people are kind of like suggesting a world where everyone is kind of like free, there's no like criminals, there's kind of like no problems, no like world wars, no like fighting, stuff like that, and everyone is almost like equal, right? Okay, so that's what probably like most people would want to live in, kind of like this perfect world where everything is kind of like happy and the world has no problems and everyone can live in peace without kind of like fear of, you know, getting slaughtered at the moment or possibly like criminals or something. Okay, so now, since we are focusing about almost like world building and dystopias, now I want you to write about how this world could go wrong. Okay, so for Cassius, you wrote that all countries are in peace, there's no racism, no poverty, no crimes, everyone can be themselves. And you said that for the world to go wrong, like people can take their opportunities for granted and people would kind of like start committing crimes again and the world would kind of just revert back to its original state. Okay, so that's pretty reasonable. Okay, Miley Jason, I'm still waiting on yours. Okay, so no one's really submitting anything, so I'll just take
I'm
Cassie's.
still typing.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's fine. Just submit it when you're ready, okay? Okay, Jason, I'm just gonna kind of like, you can continue typing. I'm just gonna kind of like move on. You can still submit your answer when you're done, okay? Oh, okay. So you wrote a world with no war, crimes, enemies, racism, but instead the world has freedom and peace. Okay, but how could this world go wrong? That's kind of like what I'm asking you to describe. Okay, don't worry about that. We'll just kind of like move on. You can think about that in your head. And just keep it in your mind for kind of like the homework that I'm going to assign you. Okay, so oftentimes in kind of like dystopian novels, the main protagonist of the story is a rebel. Okay, so what a protagonist is, for the people that don't know, it's the main character of a book, and most like usually the protagonist is like the hero of the book. What we mean by rebel is someone who like goes against what the world and society wants them to do, and there's someone who kind of like rebels against them. So the reason that in kind of like dystopian books and worlds you have a protagonist that's a rebel, it's because like normally these worlds surround around the idea of kind of like an imperfect world, and the hero of the book, the protagonist, has to find a way to either blend into this world, fix this world, escape this world, or kind of like something of the like. So that's kind of like why I assigned you guys homework to write about like a rebel, this rebel character in a dystopian book, like just a dystopian short story. That was your homework. We'll talk a little bit more about this just until kind of like 11:30ish, and then we'll move on. Okay. And then in most dystopian stories, you don't really have like an antagonist, but there like the main antagonist is not really like a person, as kind of like most fantasy stories or more like most fiction stories have. Instead, the main like antagonist of the story is usually the society that they live in. Like right now we're reading The Hunger Games, right? So the main protagonist is Katniss, and she is like a rebel because she does not enjoy living in kind of like the world. She does not believe it is perfect, as well, of course, like most people hate the world they live in. But I'm not going to spoil too much, but in the future, like events happen. And the main villain in the Hunger Games is the Capitol, which is basically the center that controls everyone, and kind of like the center that has and holds the Hunger Games and makes sure like rebellions don't happen. So that's why like dystopian stories are kind of like different from most other stories, and there are kind of like defining characteristics that separate them from other ones.
Actually, no. It's more like President Snow, who's like the antagonist, like more like most likely President Snow.
Okay, no need to spoil for everyone, okay? Because most people don't know who he is, and yeah, you don't really have to spoil
He
that.
already revealed. People already
Well,
know who
was
he.
he already revealed?
Yeah, he was already revealed in the Hunger Games. He was
Oh, okay
already
then. In
revealed.
that case, it's not really revealed how much of an antagonist he is, so that is kind of a spoiler. So please don't spoil. Um, although you can say that he's kind of like one of the antagonists, the Capitol is more or less the main antagonist, because President Snow by himself has no power. He just controls kind of like President Snow by himself only has power when he's with the Capitol. So that's why I'm saying that the Capitol is the main kind of like antagonist of the story. Okay, so once again, just to restate your homework, please write about a rebel protagonist that's living in a dystopian world using the world that you built last week. That is your homework. It's posted in the Google Classroom for the writing class. Um, that's going to be one half of your homework this week. Okay. So now moving on from kind of like dystopian societies, let's talk a little bit about utopias. Okay, so what a utopia is, it's essentially the opposite of a dystopia. A dystopia is like a world in which people tried to achieve perfection, but ended up kind of like making the world even more flawed and kind of like ruining the world even more than it was before. Okay, and now what a utopia is basically like a world in which basically kind of like it is perfect. People tried to achieve perfection and they did achieve perfection. What's interesting, however, about utopias is in many books, like you have a utopia, it starts off as a utopia. You read about the book and it seems like a very perfect world, a world that you would want to live in. However, as the book kind of like get like further into the book, you start to realize that this world isn't like as perfect as it seems, and you usually have to follow kind of like the protagonist, slowly making this realization or slowly kind of like forgetting this realization. However, there's like that's why there's very little books with like a utopia all the way through, because in most books there has to be kind of like a problem, there has to be kind of like a climax and stuff like that, and living in a perfect world, it's not really something that, although it seems like it's definitely ideal, living in a perfect world would not prove to actually be perfect as many people would describe. Um, so moving on from kind of like utopias, that was just a really brief thing about them and why they're kind of like not in a lot of books. Let's move on. Okay. So moving on from kind of like this dystopia talk, since we've read a lot of dystopian novels lately together, I believe we've read, well, we're reading The Hunger Games now. We recently read Fahrenheit 451, which is also a dystopia, and The Giver. That's a pretty well-known dystopia as well. Okay. So I'm going to kind of like give you guys a writing activity, which is I basically want you to kind of like insert yourself as a character into a world, and I want you to write about like how you would be different in this world or how you would be able to blend into this world. This world doesn't have to be a dystopia, it just has to be one that's kind of like different from our current world. Okay, I'll give you guys about 10 minutes to do that. It doesn't have to be very long. Okay, just like a paragraph is fine, or if you can't write a paragraph, a couple sentences will also do. So I'll give you guys until about 11:37 to do that, and then I'll tell you guys when there's 5 minutes left and 2 minutes left, and then I'll tell you guys when time is up. Okay? If you want, I can also type it in the chat. for people that like either can't hear clearly or need the chat. Okay, I'll type it in the chat.
Dot dot dot.
Yeah, just to let you know, private chat is enabled. So in case you want to like go, in case you want to private chat Dina, your answers you can.
Okay, Jason, I would like you to just reread the thing that I asked you to do, which was to insert yourself as a character into this world. So you've done like one part of it, which is create the world, but now you kind of just have to insert yourself as a character into the world and describe how you either don't fit in or you blend in. Okay, to kind of like describe this better, because I think it was partially my fault for not explaining this better, I want you guys to kind of like almost do this in a point of view as kind of like a time traveler or something that has randomly traveled to this place and is confused about what's going on because you're used to this world, and now you're just talking about how you as this character is either kind of like not fitting in or finding a way to blend in. That's basically what I want you to do. Okay, so I know I told you guys that I would tell you to kind of like submit it at 37, but since most of you I'm going to assume aren't done, I'll give you guys some more time. So I'll tell you when your time is up. Okay, we're at the 11:47 mark. I've given you guys 10 extra minutes. So please start submitting kind of like your paragraphs, or there are multiple paragraphs or sentences. It's okay if they're not done. Like, that's totally fine. As long as there's like something down and it's enough to kind of like read and get something out of, that's fine. Okay, so I've only gotten 2 submissions so far. So please start submitting your stories. Okay, I still only have 2 submissions. It's fine, once again, if you haven't finished it, as long as you have kind of like something that you can actually like, read and take something from, that's fine. Just submit it. Okay, so I'm still not getting any more submissions. So did only 2 people actually write it? Can you just type it in the chat if you've actually like written anything?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that Jason and Franklin have written something. But like how about the rest of you guys?
I think they're probably like still writing. I thought they're probably just trying to write something like really big.
Okay. It's fine once again if you haven't finished, just please kind of like submit what you have so far. Okay, at this point, I'm just going to assume that only Jason and Franklin wrote something. That is not good. We have 9 people in this meeting. I think even more now, more than 9. And if I tell you guys to kind of like write something in class, please do. I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it because it's kind of like practice, and it's what I'm trying to get you guys to do to show that you understand what we talked about and to kind of like further enhance your memory in these things to polish up your skills. Please don't just like sit back when I ask you to write things in class and do whatever you want. Like, for example, I know some people are probably like, for example, people have told me in the past that there are people that play video games during class. That's not good. Please don't do that. I don't think I should have to say this, but when I ask you to write something in class, you should probably write it. I'm doing it for a reason, just the same as homework, which is why I expect you to do both homework and the writing in class. So we have 5 minutes left, and let's just quickly read what Jason and Franklin read. Okay. So what Jason has written is, hold on, let me just scroll up. It was the year 19, sorry, hold on, I'm in the wrong part. It was the year 9876, and the world has new technology. The world buildings are floating, and cars can fly. When you exit your house, you can just teleport outside the floating house using passcodes and use, oh, lost it, oops. And use passcodes to teleport into your house. When wearing clothes, you can just press a button, and the shirt, boots, pants, and more just turn into the exact size you want it to be. The food we eat is completely normal. Now bikes and skateboards don't need wheels. Instead, they just float. For transportation, if you don't know how to drive a flying car, then you can just go call a taxi. Now, in the year 3948, there seems to be less green landscapes and more floating buildings, flying cars, and flying screens that show ads. When living in a city, the grocery stores and the other jobs are floating, but they hold advanced technology. If grocery stores, if you were to work there, you can just scan the barcodes. This world is not real, but it might happen in the future. Right now, I'm just some random kid in a giant floating house. In this community, I've been wearing normal clothes and doing things people would do in 2020. When you become an adult, you have to go through what you always go through in 2020. Okay, what, Franklin? Oh, sorry, Jason. I didn't see your message. The reason I read yours out loud is because you actually wrote it, and I think it would be a good chance to kind of like share what other people are writing and to kind of like share a good example, right? In the future, if you don't want me to read yours out loud, can you please just like unmute your microphone and say it, because I won't be able to see the messages on the bottom. Okay, Franklin, can I read yours out loud?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, I live on the planet SK68DL. One day is 50 hours, 45 hours daytime, 5 hours nighttime. It's crazy how people only sleep 5 hours, right? I sleep for 5 hours too. Really weird, right? Everybody is the same in this world. Okay, once again, yours doesn't really have that much. That's totally not a problem. It's probably because I asked you guys to submit it, so it's good that you actually have something down. And now kind of let's talk a little bit about like what people have included in their writing. Okay, so what Jason has done is he's described this futuristic place, and he's kind of like described how he's been wearing normal clothes. In the future, I want you to elaborate on what normal clothes are, because right now we're just supposed to assume that what you mean by normal clothes is just like clothes from 2020, which is the current year. However, if you really want to like actually make it clear for the reader, you should probably specify what you mean by normal clothes and specify a lot more things. It's not your fault if you kind of like didn't understand what I asked you to do, but basically what I asked you guys to do was to essentially write yourself as kind of like this time traveler that randomly appeared in some year, and you're kind of like wondering what year it is, and let's say kind of like you're talking about how you either don't fit in, how you're different from other people, or how you're supposed to blend in. Okay, for Franklin, in the future, when you kind of like are able to elaborate on this, I would suggest you kind of like focus more on what I've asked you to do, which is kind of to describe how you're different in this world and how weird or how normal this world seems to you. Okay? For homework, I feel like if I were to assign you guys double homework, it might, lessen the chances of you guys actually doing it. So the homework is just the same as last week. Please, please, please try to finish it. If you want, I will repost the code in the chat, but actually no, that's not a very good idea. I'll post the code in the reading classroom so you guys can copy and paste it, since I'm pretty sure everyone is in the reading classroom. And do your homework, please, and you guys have 1 week to do it, so you aren't really under a time crunch. I'm looking forward to see your work. Okay then.
Bye.
I'll
Thank
see
you
you
for
guys
teaching.
tomorrow. Bye guys.
Bye.
Thanks for teaching.